Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. We're going to continue with our theme of getting rid of grievances, letting go of grievances. I know you probably don't have any against anyone for anything, but we're going to talk about letting go of any kind of ill feelings or any kind of grievances, and we're going to continue with the next lesson. We did only love's plan for your happiness will work. Only the Creator's plan for your happiness will work. And then we're going to the next lesson, because I want to build on this forgiving thing, this letting go of grievances thing, because that's what's blocking your prosperity, that's what's blocking your happiness, that's what's blocking your success, according to the Course in Miracles. And as usual, we're going to start out with our theme song, which is I'm Not a Victim of the World I See. Hold on just a second. So, I know you know how it goes. Here we go. I'm not a victim, say what, of the world I see. I'm not a victim, say what, of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, say what, of the world I see. Woo! I'm not a victim of my thought, I'm not a victim of my thought. Not a victim of events, circumstance at all. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me, including the good stuff. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me, including the good stuff. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim. Say what? Of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. No. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles here on Facebook Live. I'm Earl Purdy, and that ain't no jive. And we start out with A Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles teaches that a miracle is a right perception, a right thought, which basically says what? If we have a right thought, it's a miracle. That's why it's called A Course in Miracles. I sometimes feel like people miss the humor of the Course. You know, it's like, if you all see things correctly and forgive, it's a freaking miracle. So this is a course in how to give y'all some miracles. And so we're going to start with the guidelines for the course. And those are the rules that will allow you, according to the Course in Miracles, the rules of how you should approach hearing the Course in Miracles. It says at the beginning of the workbook, remember only this, you need not believe the ideas. How many of you are successfully doing that? Not believing it.
I'm a believer. I know I am.
You need not welcome the ideas from A Course in Miracles. Have you ever heard something in the Course in Miracles that you didn't welcome? You need not welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Others may seem to be quite startling. I would like to, after 43 years of teaching the course, I'd like to invite you, those of you who are actually reading it and studying it, slow down. Slow down. There are many places in the Course in Miracles where Jesus of the Course in Miracles says, read this slowly. Do this slowly. Try not to read the Course like you're reading a magazine. You know, slow down. Let yourself hear what it's saying. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Then it says some of the ideas might startle you. Do you know what startle means? Okay, some of these ideas may do that to you. It may startle you. So what is it that allows you to see that these ideas I'm about to share with you are true? What is it? Using the ideas. What a radical concept. You mean using these ideas will show me that the ideas are true? Yes. You mean just reading it all by itself? Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead and do it. Okay, go ahead and get it open. I'm cool. Because it'll be a lot faster that way. Like I said, if you just rip it open, that'll be a lot better. Okay. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe, but I want you to hear this again. It's the use of the ideas, it's using the ideas. I'm the divine repetition teacher. I'm your remembering coach. I'm your remembering coach. I've been a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. It's my primary thing that I do in life since 1987. So I've been doing the Course in Miracles full-time, living by faith, trust, and sharing this material for 36 years. So you're not listening to somebody who's not familiar with the Course in Miracles. I got into the Course in Miracles. I was introduced to it in 1977. And like most people who are introduced to the Course in Miracles, I didn't actually start studying it until later, which was 1980. Okay, so I'm saying this so that you will realize I can save you some time. If you really are newer to it and you haven't been really making it your primary path and studying it, then I know I can help save you some time. Do you know that the Course in Miracles teaches that the purpose of having a relationship is to save you time toward reaching your goal of happiness and peace and truth? But do you know the Course in Miracles also says it's the chief weapon we use to keep us from happiness and truth is our special relationships. So special relationships are either the thing that people use to delay their awakening and their spiritual progress the most, or it's the thing that they can use to speed up their spiritual awakening and spiritual progress the most. Now, which side of that do you think you've seen the most? Where people use their relation. Now, in case you're very spiritual and you've forgotten what that means, it means you're in a relationship with somebody and you want to kill them sometimes. Okay, you're mad, you're upset. Please don't be pseudo-spiritual. Please, all pseudo-spiritual people pass by my class. It's for those who are willing to admit that they have anger, guilt, grievances, and fears and misperceptions, and they know they want to look at it another way and to let go of that. So we're going to be on lesson 72 in the Course in Miracles workbook, the blue book, and that's on page 124. I went back and forth about whether or not I wanted to do this because it's one of those, it could be one of those snooze fest work lessons that we do, you know, where it's extremely difficult for people to stay conscious because the Course is approaching it different from the way that we normally do. So I take it slow. Okay, so the last class, in the last workbook lesson we did was only God's plan for salvation will work. God is love. Salvation is right-mindedness and forgiveness. So the definitions of it from the Course. So only God's plan, only the Creator's plan for your happiness will work. The only plan that's going to work for your happiness is the plan that comes from God, the divine. The only plan for your happiness that's going to work permanently is the plan that comes from God. The only thing that's going to work is the plan that comes from the higher power. The only thing that's ever going to give you complete happiness and peace that you're looking for is God's plan for your happiness is the only plan that's going to work. Then it told us what our plan was. That doesn't work. And then what did we hear last week was our plan that doesn't work. It goes something like this. If this were different, I would be saved. If this were different, I would be happy. Our plan is if somebody else acted differently, spoke differently, then we would be happy. The Course in Miracles says our plan is if some outside circumstance or event were different, I'd be happy. If someone invites me over for Thanksgiving, I will be happy. If my friends call me more, I would be happy. If I lost 10 pounds, I would be happy. If I had a new car, I would be happy. If Denver was a different place, I would be happy. If it didn't snow on Thanksgiving, I would be happy. So do you know that that's what the Course in Miracles calls our plan? Our plan is to use our minds to come up with all the ways we can get something or somebody else to change to make us happy. That's what the Course calls our plan. I am going to admit that I use that plan often. Would anybody else not leave me hanging? Is it anybody else in the room that sometimes wants something out there to be different or somebody out there to be different? And okay, the Course in Miracles says that plan will just leave you confused and miserable. So if you want to save a lot of time, Spirit is saying, then you know you're programmed and conditioned to want to be controlling and to get other people to act out your fantasies and do what you want them to do so that you can be happy. We know that. We got that conditioning. So we have to learn how to let that conditioning go so that we can have God's plan that will work. And so people ask me, well, what's the divine plan? What's God's plan? The Course is just too simple. It says to ask God. What? Spirit's plan is for you to start asking Spirit. The divine plan for your life is to learn how to listen to the higher self, the higher power, God. That's God's plan. Love's plan is that you listen to love. God's plan is that you listen to God. God's plan is that you listen to the higher power. The higher power's plan is that you listen to the higher power. That's God's plan. So what do? 4 questions. The Course says you just need to ask 4 questions if you want to start to get the true plan working. What's the 4 questions you ask Holy Spirit, God?
What would you have me do?
That's right. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? That's the goal. Now, how many times in the last week have you done that? Those who heard it last week. Great. There's a really funny tendency with the Course in Miracles. Is to not do anything that it says but want the result. It's just a tad little problem that true students have a lot of times. Is that they are totally willing to look at the recipe book and maybe even open the recipe book, but actually getting the eggs and the flour to make that cake is the thing that people want to skip over. I'll say it again. You will not get the results of the type of peace that the Course in Miracles is promising unless you give the Course in Miracles attention and study. Attention and what? Study. Right. If you give it attention and study, and you apply now, doing the workbook does not mean I read the workbook lesson for today 365 times, and so now I'm saying I did the workbook. Did you honestly, at the first 5 minutes of every hour, like some of the workbook lessons say, think about it and say it? Did you honestly take 2 or 3 minutes when you walk into a room and go, I'm giving that person all the meaning they has for me, I'm giving that chair? In other words, be honest, Course in Miracles students. You're innocent, nobody's going to get you, but be honest with yourself and ask yourself, if you see yourself as being a Course in Miracles student, are you reading it and are you doing the workbook, or have you read the manual for teachers? If you haven't, do not tell yourself the Course in Miracles does not work because you haven't done it. Okay, all right. I'm here to support people primarily who want to master, practice the Course in Miracles. That's why I'm here. I want to be truly helpful to everyone, but especially Course in Miracles students. Because I love the Course in Miracles. I have put so much time and energy into listening to Spirit and doing what it says. I have literally read this text from cover to cover over 100 times. Why? Because every time I do, my life becomes more peaceful and less drama-filled, and I watch things be taken care of for me that I used to try to figure out how I was going to get that handled. So I'm going to either think the insane, crazy, unhelpful stuff that regular people think and the world thinks, or I can keep going over a way of thinking that's going to comfort me, support me, guide me, and help me. Now, which one do you think we need to go with? Okay, so that's why I do it over and 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 over, because I would much rather experience the world of peace and love and joy that the Course in Miracles is telling me I'll have if I think like it says think. Then if I keep on thinking the separation, fear, guilt, anger, and stupidity that the ego thinks or the world thinks. Because there aren't but two ways of thinking, right or wrong. By what I mean by wrong, any way that's not love. So the Course actually says, oh horrors, the Course in Miracles actually says the word right and wrong. Some people that trip out when you say wrong. There's no wrong way. Every way is the right way. Man, you're going to lose a lot of time. Could you imagine if you were headed in the opposite direction to come into, for those of you who came today, and you went in an opposite direction, and you were going in the opposite direction, and then you said to yourself, there is no wrong direction. I'm not going in the wrong direction, so this is the right direction, because all directions are the right direction. Would you rather say that to yourself, or would you rather someone say to you, hey, Earl, Unity Temple is east. This building you're going to is east. You're headed west. You're headed in the wrong direction. Wrong isn't a bad word. It can save you time. It can save you time. The Course in Miracles even says in one lesson, when you don't like the way you feel, say, I don't like the way I feel now, and so I hope I am wrong. Yeah. See, it says, hope you're wrong when you're not feeling good. Hope you're wrong when you're upset. Don't want to be right, hope you're wrong, and then say what? I want another way to look at it. I want another way to look at them. Very specific instructions. When I say ego, when the Course says ego, it's talking about fear or the fearful mind or fearful thoughts. And when it says God, it's talking about love and the loving mind and the lovingness. So if you see me substitute love and fear, it's to help make the whole thing a lot easier to understand. So what does it say? Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for your happiness. Who remembers what the Course just said holding grievances were? If I say what? If this were different, I'd be happy. So every time a person says you need to be different for them to be happy, then they are actually attacking God's plan for happiness. So every time you tell somebody they have to be different in order for you to be happy, you are attacking the plan that will give you happiness. What do you mean, Earl? Every time I make my happiness dependent on how you are acting, then I'm taking my happiness out of my hands because I don't have any control over you. Does everybody get that? You with me on that? Okay. So wouldn't that be an attack on the plan? If the plan is for you to say, what is it? What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? But I'm spending my time telling you how you need to be different in order for me to be happy. Then I'm attacking the plan that God planned, which is for me to ask God. Then he says, while we have recognized that the fearful mind's plan, if you got the book, by all means follow along, because I want to also teach you how to read the Course so that it will be easier for you to do it, because a lot of times people tell me they don't read the Course because it's hard to read. And the Course in Miracles, actually, you never have to analyze it because he tells you what he's talking about every time he says something. Let me give you an example. While we recognize that the fearful plan for happiness is the opposite to love's or God's, we have not yet emphasized that your plan, what plan? The plan of thinking everybody else needs to be different in order for you to be happy or saved. It says this is an active attack on love's plan, on God's plan. Every time you say your sister, your brother, anybody else, I make this plain. I bring it down to regular, everyday stuff. He says, well, that's a deliberate attempt to destroy the plan for your happiness. And not only that, in the attack, love is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with fear, while fear appears to take on the attributes of love. Because the Course in Miracles says the ego is a fearful thought, God is love. So let me see what he just said, because I want to make sure I heard that. So you mean that what I do is give fear the attributes of love and love the attributes of fear. So what does that look like in everyday life? I fear love and I love fear. It means that, I'll give you a good example. You say you love me, right? And because you love me, then you have a lot of scripts and you have things that you don't want me to do. I'm to give you all of my exclusive attention and my exclusive love. And if you do that, you love me. But actually, that's an attribute of fear. If you want to limit someone in order to serve you in some way, and you're afraid of losing them, so you try to control them, but you say that's because you love them, then you've given fear the attributes of love. So what we call love is fear, because usually a person is freer before they get into a relationship than after they get in a relationship. I don't know about you, but that's been true for me. I've never been in a relationship where I was as free outside of the relationship as I was inside the relationship. Never. And I've never met anybody, by the way. If I did, it's not enough people to justify, ought to be more. I should have met a lot of people who have that attitude. So what most people call love, the Course says, that's fear. But check this out. Does love give you freedom? Does love let you be? Okay. Would love try to control you? Okay. So when I say I'm going to give you real love, which means you can't control me either, and I'm free also, and I'm not trying to control you, then you get scared of love. Because love scares me, because it's not giving me the kind of control and acting out of my fantasies and scripts. Because I got to let all that go. If I'm going to express unconditional love for you and the love for God for you, then I'm not going to try to limit you, restrict you, stop you from being who you really are. I'm not going to try to make you act out my script for how you should be in order to be happy. So if you're going to give me love and we're going to do love, I'm scared now. I'm scared. I'm scared to get into a relationship that person wants to be free. So the Course says we got it reversed. We think love is something to be afraid of, but then with fear we call it love. And so the Course in Miracles says, well, that is a direct attack on God's plan, because God's plan is for you to experience total, complete freedom and real joy and real happiness. Like often I've been asked, what does the Course mean when it says a holy relationship? I've heard of special relationships. They say, well, what is a holy relationship? And it's very simple. Do you know the Course in Miracles says a holy relationship is merely a relationship that you see the purpose of the relationship as reminding each other that you're innocent and sinless and guiltless. It has nothing to do with anything in the material world or material things at all. A holy relationship doesn't have anything to do with whether you're monogamous, whether you're polyamorous, whether you're open, whether you're closed. All those things have nothing to do with the meaning of a holy relationship. What makes the relationship holy, according to the Course, is that you are totally clear that you all's goal in each other's life is to help each other recognize your sinlessness and your beauty and your innocence. Let's keep the Course. The Course in Miracles is only as complicated as you need to have it for you to get interested in it. It's really just saying very simple things, like just what this paragraph. It says you need to recognize that you're trying to follow a plan for happiness that's totally opposite to the plan for happiness. So when you're not doing the real thing that'll make you happy, which is to ask your higher power what it is you should do, then you're going to act out your plan, which is to try to use your mind to come up with how you can change everything and everybody outside of yourself. And so that's really an attempt to destroy the plan for your happiness, which is to ask God what you want me to do, where do you want me to go, what you want me to say, and who you want me to say it to. Then it says, now, and also I want you all to think what you all call love. You all are afraid of love, and what you call love is just a special form of fear, and you call it specialness. But really, specialness is just a special form of fear, because you're constantly making your happiness based on someone else making you feel valuable in some way, or someone else doing what you want them to do in order to be happy. Have I lost anybody? Okay, now do you see why he says, and this is brilliant, he says you don't have to believe it, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to welcome it. Some of the ideas you may actively resist and find hard to believe, others may seem to be quite startling. Don't judge it or analyze it, use it. And I keep going back to that because I'm doing the Course in Miracles, and what happens when someone hears the truth the Course says, and it's totally opposite to what their plan is, then it makes them go to sleep. Because if you really thought I was telling you how to really have what you wanted, that would really make you happy, and you really wanted it, I would have your attention. You would be leaning out of your chairs right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you go to a doctor and they say you got 6 months to live unless you take this pill, and let me tell you what kind of pill you need to order. I bet you $1 million if they told you that you need to get this pill if you wanted more than 6 months to live, you would not be doing this. I don't know if y'all realize it or not, but you in hell. That's right. And then people say, what are you talking about? The Course says, you're in fear. Anything can happen to you at any time, to you and your loved ones. There's a part of you that's scared to be here. Get out of denial, it says, right? And so what you really want is to have the Holy Spirit, your higher self. You want to have protection here. You want to be safe here. There's a way to be safe. And it ain't the police, and it ain't the political system, and it ain't trying to hope other races, groups, and people change. It's not a pronoun, a non-pronoun that's going to cause it to happen. It's not amount of money that's going to cause your happiness to happen. He's saying what is going to make you happy is to use the plan that will really make you happy, and it's easier than the plan that you're using. Okay? So I'm not judging you or condemning you. I just want to tell you the truth, because as a messenger, I have to tell you what the message is, because I didn't write it. Okay, then he goes, well, what is your fundamental, you really want to have the fun with the course. Everywhere you see the word ego, say your name. It'll blow your mind reading the course. If everywhere you see the ego, say your name. You'll be shocked at how you do everything he says the ego does. Like he says, the ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. The fearful mind's fundamental wish is to replace love. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of the wish to replace God. What the heck does that mean? Earl Purdy is the physical embodiment of the wish to be God, which is to replace God. Because I believe I should be in control. I'm the one that's created my reality. I am God of my world. Everything has to go the way I want it to go, and I want all my fantasies and dreams to come true, and your job is to help them come true. It's called friends. Is this too real? Is this too real? That's why I didn't turn in crowds. Then he says, so the ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. And in fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of the wish to replace God. So the mind that thinks it's separate is the physical embodiment of the wish to replace the truth. The wish to replace God. Because in that wish, what wish? The wish to replace love, the wish to replace God. Or I'll tell you an easier way the Course would say it. Your wish to replace your innocence with guilt. See, whenever I see somebody is guilty and I want to attack you for doing something, that is the physical embodiment of my wish to replace the truth, to replace love. Because the truth is, guess what, man? It really doesn't make any sense for me to be upset with you, especially if you didn't physically hit me in any kind of way. Because no matter what you say, the way that I feel is going to come from the meaning that I give what you just said. Mm-hmm. I'll say it again. Mm-hmm. If a person has not physically hit me or physically attacked me, there is literally no way I can blame that other person for what I'm feeling. Because what I'm feeling is coming from the meaning that I'm giving to what you say. If you say, Earl Purdy, you are a dog, and then I get offended, it's because I gave you saying that all the meaning that it had for me. I could have taken it as meaning nothing to me. That you calling me a dog don't mean nothing, because I know I'm not a dog. So what you're saying doesn't have to have any emotional effect on me, because I'm the one that's giving what you're saying all the power and the meaning that it has. And we need to hear that 100 times. When you are reacting to somebody and you're saying they hurt you, they did not hurt you. You hurt yourself by the interpretation that you gave to what they just said. So the truth is, my ego is the physical embodiment of the wish to replace the truth. Because God, the Course says, is the truth. For in that wish to replace the truth, what is the truth? The truth is, you're not making me feel nothing. I'm the one that's making me feel exactly what I'm feeling about you right now. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. But if I want to believe you have to change in order for me to feel good, then what I've just done is attack the true plan, and I'm using the plan I made up again. So I'm replacing the truth. I'm replacing love. I'm replacing God, which is the truth. Don't let that word God throw you. The Course in Miracles gives many definitions of the word God. And I'm going to be using these definitions because it'll help you understand better. So how did you end up? Okay, here's a good question. Are you a spiritual being, or are you a human being?
Spiritual.
Yes. Are you a spiritual being and a human being?
Yeah.
The Course says no.
grow.
No.
No.
Not a human being. It's not eternal.
Thank you. It to be real, to be something, it has to exist. And so the Course says to us that we are spiritual beings giving ourselves an experience of being separate. We're spiritual beings giving ourselves the experience of being a human being. That's the ego. Another term for the ego is human being, is person, is mind. Okay? Okay. The craziest thing, would that mean then that the craziest thing a person could do would be to expect consistent behavior out of a human being? I'm asking you. It's one of the most untrue things you could really honestly expect is to experience a human being that never changes, that does the same thing totally consistently all the time, 100% of the time. Don't tell me that that's a hard question that I'm presenting you with. Have you ever seen a human being like that? Have you ever met a human being like that? Okay, well then if I expected you as a human being, since that's what you think you are, sometimes being loving, sometimes being fearful, sometimes showing up on time, sometimes you might not show up on time, being kind some days and some days don't feel very. In other words, if I could accept you are inconsistent as a human being, would that not make me more compassionate and understanding about all the different ways you express yourself? If I expect you to be the same way all the time and you're a human being, won't I be disappointed sooner or later? Yeah. See, I don't expect you all to be consistent. I don't expect you to walk in the room and always feel good every day. I don't expect you to be 100% honest every minute. I don't expect you to be perfect in that way, in any way. So therefore, it's harder for you to hurt me or me to hurt myself through you because I'm not deceiving myself. The Course in Miracles says pain comes from what? Deceiving yourself. You got hurt in that relationship because you deceive yourself. You're on a job that you hated. You hate that job because you're deceiving yourself about where your happiness could really be located. All forms of unhappiness and pain, according to the Course, is coming from fooling yourself. Deceiving yourself. Deceiving yourself is what hurts you. Deceiving yourself is what depresses you. So now he's about to tell us one of the deepest things that you've ever heard. So make sure you have plenty of room to fall out on the floor if you need to without hitting anybody. All right, here you go. Do you like to know how you ended, if you're a spiritual being, how did you end up in a body that's overweight? If you're a spiritual being, how did you end up in the body that looks like it does? If you're a spiritual being, how did you end up sitting here looking like your physical body? Have you ever wondered that if you're a spiritual being, how you got into the body? This is about to tell us. I know that I have you on the edge of your seat to hear that. And it's so simple. I'm going to take it slow. Okay, I'm going to look for whoever's looking at me. Okay, I need to look at inspiration. That's me using the ego plan. Now I need you to look a certain way in order for me to feel inspired as a teacher. Boom, I caught myself. See, as soon as it started coming out, me trying to get you all to do anything, then my mind went, it's okay to ask for what you want, Purdy. It's okay to ask for what you want. Okay, but just don't make a demand that it happen. Make it a preference. Okay?
A preference.
Yeah, make it a preference, right? So the Course in Miracles says, I'm going to tell you how you ended up in the body, right? It's that wish to replace God. The minute you have a wish to act out your plan of being separate, you know, don't you think you're separate? Don't you think you're separate from me? Don't you think you're separate? I'm going to keep on asking questions. It's going to be hard as hell for you not to participate. Okay? I'm going to keep on asking why. Because questions hook the mind. What questions hook the mind? What questions hook the mind? Not statements. Statements put people to sleep. Questions hooks. Why? Because it's the questions that open you up to the new way of doing. Like, everybody, I think, has asked that question, well, if this spiritual stuff that I'm studying is true, how did I end up in the body? Well, the Course in Miracles says, well, the ego is the desire to be separate. So if you're going to be separate, you need to be separate in something. If you're going to have your own separate house, then you have to have your separate place you live in. The minute you want to be separate for any reason, you have to have something to be separate in. So the body was created by your mind through your desire as a spiritual being to be separate and to experience separation. So you are a spiritual being who was having an unlimited spiritual experience that had the idea, what would it be like to be separate, took that idea seriously, and then you created a body to be separate in, poof. And not only that, you made the decision to forget you made the decision. So now it seems like you're just a human being and you have nothing to do with it. Now let's take it even deeper. Let's make you a woman human being or a man human being. Let's make you a married human being or a single human being. Let's make you a black human being or a white being. In other words, let's just keep on making more divisions, more divisions, more divisions, more divisions until we absolutely forget that we are one self united with our Creator. So it looks like I'm sitting up here talking to a lot of different people, but the truth is I'm just sitting here talking to myself. And you all are part of the conspiracy because you're willing to act like you're separate from me. So we are all part of this conspiracy to fool each other. And so the Course says, when you want to be different from love, as soon as you want to be anything different from love, as soon as you want to see yourself as a victim, as soon as you want to see yourself as separate, he says that wish to surround seems to surround the mind with the body. I love that statement. It looks like you are surrounded by the body. Doesn't it look like you're inside your body? That's the same as saying it seems like your mind, you, are surrounded by a body. Okay, so I'm Earl Purdy now, in this mind, surrounded by a body, and it keeps me feeling separate from you, and it also sometimes, because I'm separate, I feel alone. I went to the movie last night by myself. It seemed like I was separate in a body, alone. I didn't know the reason why that's happening is because I am refusing to listen to my loving right mind, and I'm listening to my fearful, guilty ego separate mind. How do you know when you're listening to the ego mind? You believe in anything that the world tells you. That's how you can tell when you're in the false mind. You'll be believing what the world teaches you, which is that you are a body, there's a particular gender, and that you're going to grow old and you're going to die one day. If you believe that, you are deceived, and it's going to cause you a lot of pain. Woo! That sounds different than me saying that I'm in a lot of pain because my son didn't remember my birthday. How many people do you know that's ever told you that? That's ever said to you, oh, the reason why I'm in pain right now is I'm deceiving myself into thinking I'm a body and separate from God. And since I think I'm a body and separate from God, I had to put myself in a body. Well, bodies don't last because they're not coming from God, they're coming from me. Yeah. And so since it doesn't last, then I think I can experience pleasure, and I think I can experience pain. And I'm identifying with that body, and that's why I got this backache right now, because every time I have a backache, it convinces me I must be this body because I have this backache. I must be a body because I feel my back hurting. I must be a body because my back is hurting. And so every time I have a pain, the purpose of the pain is to make me believe I am this body and not spirit, mind. That's as sane an explanation. As a matter of fact, that has more sanity than Santa Claus coming down a chimney giving somebody some toys. Or that has, to me, that sounds more saner than saying a stork delivered a baby. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, that makes sense that the truth is, and check this out too, y'all. This book says some deep stuff. I understand why people don't read it. It says, it seems to surround, that wish to replace God, that wish to replace love, seems to surround the mind with a body. You could say, instead of mind, you could say you, because the Course in Miracles says you are mind and in mind and surrounded by mind. So where it says mind, say I or you, and then see how much more sense it makes. It is that wish, the ego's wish, is to replace God. Let's say it the other way. The wish to be separate is the wish to replace God. In fact, the ego, the wish to be separate from God, is the physical embodiment of that wish to replace God. So the wish to replace the truth, the wish to replace God, that wish seem to surround you with a body, keeping you separate and alone and unable to reach other minds except through the body. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. It looks like I'm separate from you. It looks like I can't reach you except through my body, right? Am I not talking to you all right now through my body? Okay, then that's why, because I think I'm separate from you, so I'm unable to reach you except through the body. And it looks like my mind is trapped in my body. I don't know about you, but it looks like I can't escape my body. No matter where I go the rest of the day, I feel like I'm in my body. So the Course in Miracles says that it looks like your body is imprisoning your mind. It looks like your body is imprisoning you. What? What? Your body is imprisoning you. It looks like your body is, it looks like you can't go anywhere your body doesn't go. It looks like you can't get outside your body. Doesn't it look like you're in your body right now? Okay, online, doesn't it seem like you're in your body right now? Do you know why? Because there's a part of you that wants to be separate and special. And you can't be separate and special unless you have something to be separate and special in. That's called the body. So you think you're in your body. You don't have no choice but to be in your body. So that's another way of saying you are imprisoned by your body. that your body was made to imprison your mind, to limit your mind, to make you think you're separate.
Oh boy.
I have to talk like I'm a spiritual being. I can't continue to talk like I don't realize what I realized after 40 years of doing this. You know what I'm saying? It's like you get to a certain point in your spiritual path, and whether anybody believes you or think you're crazy, you still have to say what you're seeing and what you're really thinking. That's where I am right now. So I know I'll either attract people or run them away, by being authentically myself. And I feel like I haven't been fair to you when I'm not really expressing myself on the level of consciousness that I live on, which is a level where I am willing to admit to all my so-called flaws, while at the same time being willing to focus on the truth about myself. But I know if I'm a spiritual being, I want to know how I ended up in this body that thinks it needs to work in order to survive. And he's saying he said it. He says the limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication. So the limit on what is the limit on communication? The limit on communication is thinking that I'm limited to this body, thinking that I'm just this body. Because do you know if our minds are joined, doesn't that mean that to communicate with you, I don't necessarily have to do it through my body? If my mind is joined with yours, then it looks like the only way I can talk to you all or communicate with you all right now is through sitting here in this Earl Purdy body talking to you. It looks like if I wasn't sitting here in this body, you wouldn't be able to communicate with me, and I wouldn't be able to communicate with you. So really my body is a limit on my communication. Thinking that I'm a body is a limit on my communication. If I knew I was a spiritual being and our minds were joined, I could communicate with you even without my body. In other words, telepathy is real. Telepathy is our normal way of communicating with each other. Telepathy is real, man to man. Some people you feel so connected to that you experience telepathy with them all the time. You think about them and the phone rings and that's them. We've all had these or you think about them and you out and you run. It freaked me out so bad one day. I went to Walgreens and I was thinking about a friend of mine that I literally had not seen in years. And I went in Walgreens and I walked around the aisle, and they didn't even live in town. And I walked around the aisle and I looked up and she was right there in front of me. Freaked me out. I never go to this Walgreens, by the way. It wasn't like my regular neighborhood Walgreens. And I could give you time after time after time after time after time. And I bet you could do the same thing to me, where you heard from somebody or you communicated with somebody and you hadn't had any physical contact with them. So the Course in Miracles says the limit on communication cannot be the best way to expand communication, yet your ego would have you believe that it is. So the ego is, another term for ego is my false self, my wrong-minded self. So if I say that, yet the wrong-minded part of you would have you believe that the body is the only way and the best way for us to communicate with each other. But there are people that are listening to me right now that my body isn't even there with them. which is the proof that communication transcends the body, and communication doesn't have anything really to do with the body. So there will be a time when you will not have to open your mouth in order to communicate with those around you. So regular people will think that you're just being quiet, but you're in total communication with other beings who are also aware that they're spiritual beings. But people who are beings that are aware that they are spiritual beings around people who don't realize they're spiritual beings and think that they are people, then they have to be as quiet and normal as possible so that they won't frighten us. Real loving beings, true spiritual beings, they are quiet around us for their own good. Because the Course in Miracles says, when you're around people who you are not like them, but you look like you are, they're going to pretty much assume that you are, and they'll feel safe around you. Because they're going to project on you. Like, you know what I mean? You go to the movie, you project that everybody's sitting around you in the movie, nobody's going to smack you upside the head. You just go to the movie and you assume everybody's going to be just the way you are, right? And that's why, because nobody's saying anything. So we feel more one in the movie in a way, because no one's saying anything, and so you don't have any reason to think that their motives and purposes wouldn't be anything more different than yours. So the Course in Miracles is telling us, although the attempt to keep the limitations that a body would impose, and this is so deep. If you don't think you're a body and you want to keep on thinking you're a body and you want to not know that you're a spiritual being, then how do you keep the limitations of believing that you are a body? How do you keep, if you're a spiritual being, how do you keep the limitation of thinking that you're only a body? Well, he says, it's perhaps not so apparent why holding grievances is an attack on your happiness. What does that mean? That's why I record this. That's why I video this, so that people can listen back over and over again, because sometimes it may take several times of listening to this before you realize how profound what the Course in Miracles is saying. But again, I can't let that stop me from sharing, because this is what excites me more than regular people stuff. Okay? The Course in Miracles tells you all the time, if you make your spiritual awareness your purpose, everything else will be taken care of. You'll be given what you need to stay. You'll be taken care of. If you do what you came here to do, which is to remember who you really are, and to remember you're a loving spiritual being and spread that message, you're going to be taken care of. It says people are going to be sent to you to give you what you need, and some people are going to be coming just to show you how much you need forgiveness. Right. So the reason why everybody's who's struggling, is because they're using the wrong plan and they're not doing what they came here to do, and so they struggle. And they think the struggle is being caused by inflation, or the struggle is being caused by the current political climate. None of that has anything to do with why people are struggling. People are struggling because they are not allowing themselves to be guided by the Holy Spirit, their higher power. People are struggling because they've forgotten the truth of who they really are. They've forgotten that they're spiritual beings in a human body because they wanted to be separate from God, and therefore they had to give themselves the experience of being in a body. And so that's why we're in a body. And then he said, well, how do you stay in the body? Well, the way you stay in the body is keep on blaming everybody else and holding grievances for what you think is happening to you. That grievances are the way you keep the separation going. And that's obvious. If I have a grievance against you, I feel separate from you. If I'm angry at you, I feel separate from you. So doesn't it make sense then that the real purpose of anger and grievances is to keep you feeling separate?
There you go.
Right? And so if you want to be separate because you think you're a body, and you think you're a woman, and you think you're a man, or whatever you identify with, as long as you look at yourself that way, you're identifying with the body, and you forget that you're a spiritual being. And you're a spiritual being that's unlimited, but you wanted to see what it was like to be separate. So you had to be separate in something, so now you're in a body. That's why you're in a body, because you wanted to be separate. That's why you're in the body, because you want to know what it felt like to be different. That's why you're in the body, because you wanted to feel special. You wanted to feel, according to what the Course is saying. So how do you keep yourself trapped in the body? He says, well, I'm going to tell you again. The way you keep yourself trapped is through having grievances. What causes grievances? Your demands and expectations and scripts that you have of everybody around you, and if they don't act out those demands, expectations, and scripts and fantasies, then you get angry or you get upset and you think you need to forgive them. That is what keeps you feeling separate from love and separate from God. Your grievances. Your grievances. Why is it that your check's bouncing? Your grievances. Why is it that you're in that health condition that you're in? Your grievances. Why is it that your relationship is causing you pain and suffering if it is? I'm talking to the people that know that they're going through some pain and some stuff they want to get rid of. I know those of you who are not going through that may not be able to relate to what I'm saying right now, but you know what? I know there'll be a day that you probably will, because we go in and out. We're happy one day and we're not so much necessarily the next day. So I can understand that what I'm saying may not have no relevance to anybody that sees themselves as being happy right now. But there are those of us out there that are curious about, if I'm this unlimited spiritual being that I keep reading about in all these books, why don't I know it? Why is it that I'm in this physical body? And the Course says, let me give you a really easy answer to that. You want it to be separate. You want it to be experience what it would feel like to be unique and individual. That's why you all are sitting around, all of you looking different, and all of you don't look alike. It's because you wanted to have your own individual experience of what it feels like to be separate. How do you do that? You have to stay upset about something or feeling separate through some form of grievance. Grievances make you feel separate. All right? I've never been, if I'm mad at you, I don't feel connected to you. I don't feel joined to you when I'm upset with you. So if I want to be separate, it's built in that I've got to keep conflict and fear and anger and depression and lack and sickness or something going on that's making me unhappy, so I can feel separate, broken in two by periods in which that upset seems to be gone. And that's what we do. We have periods of upset, and then we have periods that we feel like the upset is gone. And so the Course in Miracles says, well, that's how you keep your separation going. You keep yourself unhappy about one thing or another, broken in two by periods in which you feel pretty good and go to a movie. Okay? So how do I keep it going? Well, you have to have grievances. What is the grievance? Every time I write a script for everybody I know, and I demand that they be different in some kind of way in order for me to be happy. And then he says, when you do that, that's an attack on God's plan. Then what is God's plan? God's plan is that you get into the habit of starting to ask your higher power and asking your God, your creator, for its guidance. That you've got to get to the point that you stop acting like you created yourself and understand that you had a creator. Now, the part of you that thinks what I'm saying is crazy as hell and doesn't make any sense, that's the part of you that wants to be separate. That's the part of you that thinks it's the ego. So the ego is the part of us that's completely bought into the BS that the world is teaching us about who we are at our request. The ego is the part of me that does believe I'm Earl Purdy. That's a black man in America. That's got a social security number and a car out there that he got to pay car insurance soon. Okay? All of that is nothing but my plan to make myself happy by telling myself all of those things have to fall into place before I'm happy. And he's saying when you do that, that makes you forget that you are more powerful than the circumstances that you're going through, and that you're the one that's creating everything that you're going through. There's not nothing you're going through that you're not the one that's creating it. But the way to keep that going is to never remember that you're the one that's deciding to give yourself the financial situation you're in. You're the one that's deciding to give yourself the kind of relationships you're in. You're the one that's deciding to give yourself the kind of job you're in and your spiritual awareness. He's saying that we are the one that's doing it, but we don't want to admit that we're doing it. So he says we forget. We make the decision to forget that we're determining everything that happens to us. You're determining everything. Yes, everything. All of it. All of it. You mean, Earl, you mean that car wreck that you had on graduation night before you graduated from high school where this car knocked you all the way through another house and knocked the guy out of the bed? That was you created that? Doggone right. Doggone right I did. But I didn't remember doing it, and I wasn't taught that I did it. But it doesn't make sense from the perspective of me being a human being, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense from the idea that I'm a child of God and I'm an unlimited spiritual being. See, you cannot not have the characteristics of your parent. And if you were created by God, you have God-like qualities. And if you have God-like qualities, it means you are a creator. And if you are a creator, you can make whatever you think you're saying. So you're doing two things. You're creating or you're making. You're either creating something or you're making something. The Course says that's the only two things you're doing. And when you create, You're creating love, which is going to be something really cool and permanent. When you're making, then you're going to be coming out of your own ideas and fears, and those things are going to be temporary and never last. So you can always tell when you're doing something from the part of you that has no real power, because the part of you that has no real power can never make anything that's permanent. That's why you don't have to worry about whatever you're going through. There's no pain or suffering of any type that you can ever go through that will ever be permanent, because we can't make permanent things. The minute you come up with something other than treating yourself with love and happiness and joy, and the minute you come up with anything other than seeing how precious and how priceless and how beautiful you are, any ideas you come up about yourself that says less than you are sinless and guiltless and wonderful and juicy and cute, then you are making up something about yourself, and therefore it is not eternal and it ain't gonna last. That's why you never stay unhappy all the time forever. So don't worry about your guilt, your fear, your insecurities, what you think you've done wrong or what you feel shame about, because none of those things can be permanent, because as a child of God, you can only make what is permanent. So what is this saying, Earl? Earl, what are you saying? I'm saying that we need to understand how holding grievances is an attack on God's plan. And that's why I'm going through the grievance stuff, because the Course says there's nothing that keeps us more unhappy and limited in our experience than the grievances and unforgivenesses we have.
That's right.
Now, there are people who are not ready to forgive yet. They're going to dismiss everything that I've said. And then there are people who reach their limits and they know they got to have a change in their life, and then they're going to utilize what I'm doing. That's the way it works. Course in Miracles says whenever you give somebody advice and it doesn't seem like they've taken it, then you need to understand that if it's really good advice, if it's really the truth, they'll accept it when they're no longer afraid of it and they think it benefits them. So a lot of the stuff I say to you, you may not realize the value of it for years. And then some of you may recognize the value in the next minute. But as the person that's giving it to you, the Course in Miracles has taught me I cannot be concerned about whether or not you do anything that I say, because at the point that I'm concerned about you doing what I tell you, it's no longer a gift, it's imprisoning you. So I got to be willing to tell you everything this book says, regardless of how you react, because I can't really give you a gift if I'm concerned about how you're going to react to it. A person will never be completely honest with you in a communication as long as they are afraid of how you're going to react to what they say. It's going to make them want to hold back. I'm going to stop here.
Thank you.
I sure needed to hear that. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Because I always teach what I most need to hear, most need to learn. And I'm so hungry to hear the truth at a new level that I'm so thankful to all of you in the room and all of you online who allowed yourself to hear that, and whether you heard it or not. Because you can't not give yourself the truth just because of how you perceive other people are reacting and responding to it, if you want to be happy. And I felt myself being so liberated just by talking to you in terms of me being a spiritual being that is inhabiting this physical body and created this physical body by my desire to be separate and see what it would be like to be a man in this body, in this world. But that makes so much more sense to me, because I'm having much more fun looking like I'm a black man since I know I'm not than I ever did when I thought I was. When I thought I was a black guy named Earl Purdy, and that was my primary concept of myself, I dealt with a lot more of what appeared to be racism, what appeared to be anger or upset or poverty, all of the horrible things or challenging things I've gone through in my life. Those things all happened when I thought I was separate from the truth, separate from God, and I thought I was a separate guy in a body named Earl. And the Course in Miracles taught me that I was a spirit that had the idea of being separate and wanting to see what that would be like, because I wanted to be special. That makes sense to me. So as a God, spiritual being, I just created an experience, which you all are all co-creating because we're the same being. Except right now, we're pretending that all of us on various levels of understanding. So some of you will seem like you don't get it. Some of you will feel like you do. Some of you will agree. Some of you will not agree. But it doesn't really matter, because what the truth is totally unaffected by whether you believe it or not. The truth doesn't care if you believe it or not. So there's nobody to even get upset with you about withholding your agreement. Who cares? It's not going to change it if it's the truth.
Truth is the truth.
But some people are just like you and just like me. They're ready for a new story. They're ready for a new explanation. They're ready for another way of looking at it that'll give them the peace and joy that they want. The problem is, it's not going to be anything you thought of, because if you were already thinking the way you should be thinking, you'd already be happy and be expressing nothing but love and joy, and me expressing nothing but love and joy and gratitude for being with you right now. We wouldn't be acting the least bit separate from each other right now. We would be expressing all types of gratitude and joy and communicating with each other if we really knew this was true. So it's not important that you believe these ideas. It's just important that you use the ideas, which is, every time you tell yourself, if this were different, you'd be saved, you are using the plan that's guaranteed to cause pain and joy. So you got to decide whether you want to have pain and joy, or whether you want to go on a path that only gives you increasing joy. Those are the two paths. One path is only increasing joy. The other path is the path of joy and pain, the path where joy comes and goes. Those are the two paths anybody's choosing. So what do I do with my body now? Well, okay, I'm beginning to realize I'm not a body. What do I do with my body now? Well, I use my body to express as much love and joy and peace and happiness and truth with you as I possibly can. And that might include us going out to dinner sometime, it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the physical perceived dream that we're looking at. It just means that now I want to use God's plan instead of my plan, and I want to take all of my scripts and expectations off of everybody around me so that I can be free of this prison called the body, so that I can experience my greater unlimited self and still express myself through the body. Does that make sense to some of you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're going to probably forget 90% of everything I've said, because nothing that I've said is something you hear all the time. So we're going to go back in the world, and then we're going to start hearing our friends and our relatives and what we see on TV, and stuff we're going to be saying. It's going to be almost like we never even came here. That's one of the reasons why, even though thousands of people are coming to my classes, there's very few people that come in person, because the rest of them don't even remember they came. And that's okay. Because the Course in Miracles teaches us that. It tells you everything that you are going to go through on the path to your awakening is in this blue book. It's going to tell you every mistake that you're going to be tempted to make, and the Course in Miracles is going to tell you what your friends are going to do who think they're separate, everybody. The Course in Miracles tells you everything that everybody who doesn't know the truth is what they're going to do, including yourself, and how you're going to act. And so that's why the part of us that wants to be separate will do everything in its power to keep you from reading this book. Because the part of you that keeps you miserable, it can't survive if you are reading and doing the stuff that will make you happy. So, of course, the part of me that doesn't think I deserve to be happy, it's not going to get me to study this book that's going to get rid of my misery and my pain if I think I don't deserve to be happy. But the more you think you deserve to be happy, the less crap you'll put up with. The more you believe that you need to be happy, the more your discomfort will grow. Because you know you don't have to go through the stuff that you're putting yourself through. And so that makes you even more irritated, because you know you're putting yourself through something that you don't really have to be putting yourself through. And now you say, I'm irritated. That's a different reason from being irritated than what we used to be irritated. I'm irritated because you're playing music too loud.
Oh.
Right? I'm irritated because I know I can have more peace than I have in this relationship with you. That's what my irritation says. I know I can have more than what I'm giving myself right now. That's what boredom says. I know there's more joy out there for me than I'm letting myself have right now. That's so deep. But it makes perfect sense if you want to be separate. Because in order to be separate, you have to have grievances. How do you make a grievance? I'm going to say it the last time. By saying, if this or you or it was different, I would be happy. And every time you're unhappy, that's what you're saying to yourself. In case you wondered how to catch yourself, it's any time that you're sad, angry, and upset. Anytime you're sad, angry, and upset, according to the course, not according to every other teacher, not according to every other discipline, and all of them can work. So when somebody comes to the course, all I'm doing is sharing what the Course in Miracles says. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm saying if you want to do the Course in Miracles curriculum, then I'm here to support you in that. I've used the book so you won't think it's just something I'm making up. That's why I work out of the book. I don't want it to be Earl Purdy just sitting here and saying something. I don't believe that I could really be helpful as a teacher unless at some level a person found themselves being motivated to study it for themselves and to change themselves. A good teacher is a good motivator. And so those people that you see you are motivating, those are the ones you know the Holy Spirit sent you to actually have an even deeper experience of the truth with. Even though all of them are equal. See, I want to tell you how loved you are, and how sinless you are, and how guiltless you are, and how much happiness you deserve to have. But shouldn't that excite you? What part of me wouldn't be excited? It's either what you're saying, Earl, or the way you say it. It's you that's the problem. Right? Well, then, to eliminate me. Right? That's what you do. You eliminate. If I'm not helpful, if I'm not valuable, you eliminate me. That's what you do. What's valuable is what's helpful. So what do? You take an inventory of your life right now, and you say, what people do I know in my life that I see is helpful? What feelings are helpful? What circumstances are helpful? Because whoever those people are, those are the ones that you're going to see as being valuable. Those are the ones that are valuable. The ones that are valuable are the ones that are helpful. The ones that are valuable, that's not saying they are not ultimately valuable, beautiful beings, but they're not valuable to you. If you don't see them as helpful, they're not valuable to you. It doesn't mean they are not in themselves valuable, but they're not valuable to you. So how many people do you spend time with that you feel like they're not helpful to you? You don't feel joyful. You don't feel like being with them, you're a little bit higher than you were at first. Because the valuable ones are going to be the ones that inspire you the most. And the ones who inspire you the most are the ones that Spirit is directing you to right now. So I'm saying all these things, so when you listen back, those of you who care to listen back, there were a lot of questions I asked. And those questions are the kind of questions that trigger your awakening. Like a simple thing like, who is it that you are trying to get to change the most in order for you to be happy? That's the person you hate the most. The person you got the most demands for, the most scripts on, the most expectations of, that's the person you love the least. Because that's the person you're limiting the most to having to be the way you want them to be rather than for them to be the way they are. So now you know who's the one person in your life you need to forgive the most, which means that if you can forgive them, which by the way, they didn't do anything, they just didn't do what you wanted them to do, which doesn't really make them bad, okay? That's their sin. Their sin is they're not letting you control them. I've made more people mad in relationships from that. One thing in my special relationships of my life has been, my only crime is I want to love more than one person. That's been my crime. Because if I feel my oneness with everybody, and you are me, then why would I want to love my finger but not my elbow? But the world wants you to be monogamous with your finger and ignore the rest of your body. Does that mean enter into physical relationships with a lot of different people? Sometimes. And sometimes it means not entering in at all, because the body has nothing to do with love. The body has nothing to do with love, but the body can be a way you express love through. The body can be a means of expressing love, but love doesn't have anything to do with physical sex and the body. Those are all just things that can be used to either make you feel more one and connected, or something you're using to make you feel more guilty and separate. That's the only way anybody's using anything. People are using sex to make themselves feel innocent, or they're using sex to make themselves feel guilty. They're either using money to make themselves feel innocent, or they're using money to make themselves feel guilty. That's the only thing we're doing with anything in the world, because everything in the world is neutral. It doesn't mean any more than the thing you give it. And I want to love all of you. I wouldn't be in a relationship where somebody told me I couldn't love anybody else but them. I know that person doesn't love me, because somebody that loves you is going to always be asking you to extend it.
Yeah.
So you already know when you get in a relationship that's going to be crappy for you,
That's right.
by how much that person is already trying to limit you. But if you can agree on the limitations you want, if you can agree on the rules that you want in your relationship, that's beautiful. And if you can agree on the rules that you want in your relationship, you'll have a peaceful relationship with that person. All you have to do is just make sure you all are acting according to the same rules, and you'll have peace with that person. So if you need certain boundaries, if you need certain limits, then you need to let that person know, and then see if they can be in agreement with you about what those boundaries and limits and agreements are. And if you all are both in agreement, you're going to have a peaceful, loving relationship. And it still will be a relationship that's full of love, even though it appears to be exclusive.
Yeah.
Because both people in the relationship are doing what they choose to do, and freedom is doing what you choose to do.
There you go.
But if you don't think you deserve it, you're going to choose somebody who wants just the opposite of the thing you want. You'll be asking for an agreement that they said they could never do. And then if you don't love yourself, you're going to use your mind to try to figure out how you can change their mind. And that's the ego's plan, and that's where the grievance comes from. I went off again. Sorry. Forgive me. When spirit gets a chance to use my body, sometimes it just goes too far. And it just keeps on doing it anyway. There's nothing worse than somebody not liking you and sticking around. That's cruel. That's cruel to stick around where you know you're not giving love. That's cruel. I appreciate those people more who don't like me and who leave me. I think they're more kind than the person who doesn't accept me as who I am, but keeps on trying to stay with me, trying to change me. So what did I have to do? I had to stop trying to change anyone that was in a special relationship with me. And I had this hard thing to do. You know what it was? Nothing. Because that's what happens when you let people be. If you let them be, there's nothing for you to do. If the hard work is trying to change somebody all the time, that's the full-time job. But the minute you get into love, oh, I love you. I'm going to let you be the way you are. What is there for me to do? What could be easier than that? And the weird part about it is when people see you letting them be and loving them and encouraging who they are, for some reason they want to be more loving and caring and attentive to you. Fancy that. And so all the stuff I was trying to do through scheming, if I would just let them be and support who they really are, I would watch them naturally unfolded in the way I want them to, which is to be loving and appreciative to me.
There you go.
And I'm going to share with you more about the lessons that work with my journey in doing this. Not to make it about me at all, but sometimes concrete examples helps people see things easier. Because we're all the same. Woo! Hey, all the information about me and everything I do is on my website, www.earlpurdy.com. And I do stuff on a love offering basis. If you want to share, that would be great. I'm going to pass this around. And those who'd like to, online, you can use PayPal, Venmo, the Cash App, and Zelle. And also, I'm available for one-on-ones. Also available, how do you take what I just said? How do you take the Course in Miracles? And how do you apply it to your everyday experience or some situation that you're going through right now? I can help you with that. Those of you all who know you want to get deeper into this and you want to save you some time and you like to work with me as a mentor or a coach, I'm available for that. What I do, I call clarity sessions. The answers are within you. Clarity sessions. So you just go to my website. It explains all the details about it. And if you choose to do it or you're led to do it, then you can self-book a session with me right from my website, www.earlpurdy.com. And for the donation, my email address is all you need, and that's Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com. Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com. And I'm available also for astrological and numerological interpretations. Those are other ways that Spirit communicates through me. So take a breath. We're going to bring it in. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. I do Hardcore Course in Miracles at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do Facebook Live on the Course in Miracles at 1 o'clock. You can attend in person. 1555 Race Street in Denver, Colorado. 1555 Race Street, 80206. Do it. I do it online and in person. Thursday, its classes are only online. Only online. And all of my classes are also uploaded to YouTube. So I have hundreds of classes on YouTube. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I just want to be helpful. I just want to meet people and teach people who are as excited about the Course in Miracles and want to get the benefits of it and go deeper as I do. I make an appeal to those who love the Course in Miracles and they feel like they really, 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 really want to make it their spiritual path. I want to be helpful to you. I want to save you some time. I want the Holy Spirit to speak through me and teach through me. This is an appeal to those who also just want to check it out every now and then and you don't feel like studying the Course in Miracles at all. I'm appealing to you also. But especially, I want to go deeper in the Course in Miracles. And there's so many powerful things inside the Course that I want to share with you that will only remotely make sense if you're doing some study on your own. But I don't know if you've noticed or not, but this dream physical reality that we're in right now, it's going through a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things going on in this world right now that I personally say to myself, if this were different, I'd be happy. And I know I'm making a grievance. Every time I say, if anything outside me were different, then I would be saved. I would be happy. I'm making a grievance. I'm keeping my separation going. So what do you do about all the things that are happening in the world right now? What do you do about what you perceive to be your problems and trials and tribulations? This is what you do. First thing you do is you ask yourself 4 questions. And those 4 questions are God, higher power, spirit, all that is. What do you want me to do? 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 Then ask your higher self, power, spirit, go. Where do you want me to go? 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 What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? I'm in this world. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? Who do you want me to say it to? Who do you want me to say this to? That's what you ask. And then see what happens. And so you will see that it works if you use the ideas. And sometimes that means you have to listen to this over and over again, at least 4 times. Because there's a good chance you're going to go into spiritual amnesia as soon as you take your focus off the truth. But you'll never be alone. You'll always be supported. No part of this journey are you taking by yourself. You are never alone. You have all kinds of invisible support. You have all kinds of invisible support. You have all kinds of invisible support. Take a breath. Tell yourself, I am spirit. 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 So would you be willing to acknowledge yourself, mighty companions? Come on, come on, come on, come on. You deserve it. You deserve it. Those of you online, know I went over, and I went over.
You get it out of the park.
May the course be with you. Hey, I love y'all so much. Thank you.